Speaking about like the different forms that the mix took, you know, as you were making it, and obviously you said, you know, you've been working on this for a decade, keeping a list. Was there an iteration of the mix, I hear, that then got lost on a hard drive or something?
There was a finished one, yeah.
There was a finished one.
Yeah.
And had you written down what was on that, or?
We had it to listen to in its MP3 form, and then very, very soon after that was bounced out of the computer, that was the only version ever to exist.
Wow.
Because all of the, you know, makings of and the project file was lost.
The 60s mix is gone too. So
the 60s mix.
Yeah, that was gone too.
That's cemented.
Yep, they can't change that one.
But the difference is the 60s mix is out.
Yeah.
This one wasn't, and Hugo didn't have a backup.
And I hadn't bounced a WAV. It was like I had a 128 version of it, and I tried to put it to the guys, let's just put out the 128, and it's going to live in that folklore that it's going to be a bit shit, and it's going to be...
So do you still have the 128 version?
Yeah, to be sitting on the email.
God,
it was one of the biggest sells that Hugo's ever done. He was like, he put it out in like a email, was like, guys, what about this? Because he knew the work that he had to do to go back again.
Yeah, God. And like the mix, everything, it would have been lost. That's like, you know what I would argue? Having the crunchy 128 is actually reminiscent of when like we first started doing...
This was in my email.
These mashups like back in the day.
I've heard this
like,
point before. I don't know where.
When I asked like engineers to bounce stuff out, I'm like, oh, can you make it like 128 or like 96?
Can you make it like Bloghouse, please? And like fuck my speakers.
Like LimeWire vibes. Like
exactly.
I tried that approach, didn't land.
But I think yes.
I like listening to things.
Streams that anyway. So it is out there then?
It's not, I mean, it's out there in the sense that it's sitting in our Gmail inbox with a very long note attached to it.
So
with no replies.
Yeah, exactly. With everyone being like, no. I think kind of similar to what you asked before with the Taylor Swift thing. It's like, I put it out onto Twitter like last year before the mix got lost and started again.
Lost.
I was like, do you guys want a kind of a true representation? Because I feel like the 60s, 70s, 80s, to a degree the 90s mixes are indicative of almost billboards and popularity at the time. But then it's sort of, that's still our perception of what was popular, and there's things in there that we like that weren't necessarily big hits. So everyone overwhelmingly was like, we want your take on the decade. And then it's like, I think that makes it more interesting, because then
it makes it harder.
Yeah, it does make it harder. And then also, but then if you did want the objective take on the decade, what was popular, you can just look at the Billboard's charts. You can just go like, what was the hits, and you've got them all there. You kind of...
But you won't rule out like the next decade mix having like a buttload of TikTok songs and sounds that are like 10 seconds short.
No, I don't think we should rule out AI making the next decade mix for us.
Well, they won't, and I keep going back to it, but AI will never lose it.
Yeah,
yeah, it might just be the same quality. It'll be like, here's a 128. Be like, I told you, shit's coming back.